After a short bus ride from Craig, Colorado, our adventure begins on the Yampa River at Deer Lodge Park, where the calm water gives no hint of the canyons and white water ahead. Provisions for our journey are stored, cured in food lockers, bolted to the frames of the big rubber pontoon rafts that will carry us safely through the Yampa Canyon on down the Green River into Utah. From the original 80 acres set aside by President Wilson in 1950, Dinosaur National Monument was enlarged in 1938 to more than 200,000 acres. This fabulous canyon country occupies much of northwestern Colorado and northeastern Utah. No well-preserved dinosaur remains are found here, but this rugged country was included in the monument because of its recreational and scenic values. Floaters get their first taste of whitewater at Teepee Rapid. Boatmen give this rapid a rating of 3 on a 1 to 10 scale. However, in May and June, when more water is coming down the river, this rating may increase to a 4 or 5. Young eyes are quick to spot wildlife along the way, gliding on silent wings over the deep canyons below. A hard pull on the oars and we head for shore. What a spring. On cool days, it doesn't take long to get a driftwood fire burning brightly. It's a girl's chance to dry off the flashing waters of Teepee Rapid. Appetites are sharp on the river, and most everyone seems to find their way back for seconds. Fried chicken is the main course for this first meal on the river, and it's finger-licking good. Back on the river, the next rapid is called Little Joe, but don't let the name fool you. Our expert boatmen give Little Joe a rating of 4 on the 10-point scale. Stern to bow, we shoot the rapids in single file. Happy shrieks and laughter echo off canyon walls, and once again it's time to get a little bit wet as our photographer tries for a steady picture from a bucking rubber raft. The river at this eastern portion of the rugged Yampa Canyon cuts through rock formations called Lower Pennsylvania or the Morgan Formation. Canyon walls at this point vary from 2,100 feet high to 3,400 feet. The river here is 5,300 feet above sea level and through the years has undercut the softer rock formation. Hey, there's white water ahead. And it's time again to check life jacket time. Remember Little Joe? Well, this is Big Joe Rapid, where in May and June, boatmen rate this rapid as high as 6. With a reverse pull on the oars, the expert boatman makes the surging water work for him. Down the slot we go. With the first day on the river behind us, it's good to get ashore. For the passengers, the first order of business is to put up a sleeping shelter while the crew fixes dinner. With the food great, coffee's hot, and appetites reach their peak as the Yampa River slides quietly by Harding Hole Campground. Dry shoes and clothes from waterproof bags sure feel good as evening settle over the canyon. Sleeping bags and air mattresses will be unrolled under all types of shelters tonight, ranging from simple tarps stretched between the trees to fancy alpine tents. It all depends on what you want to pack in those waterproof river bags. Our second day on the river. We'll be floating 24 miles today through the lower or western half of the Yampa Canyon. This is the entrance to what is called Castle Park. Occasional wide spots along the way provide river travelers a place to land, should nature call. The water moves slower here. The riverbed drops only 7.5 feet per mile, compared to the 17 feet per mile drop we enjoyed yesterday. On a hot day, it feels good to let your foot drag through the water. The big raft slips quietly through the canyon. Some have been known to doze in the warm sunshine. And upon occasion, they're rudely awakened as a beaver slaps the water with his tail, the sound echoing like a rifle shot off the canyon wall. History abounds in the caves and canyons of northwestern Colorado, and one of the first sites to visit is Mantle's Cave. Discovered by an early-day rancher's wife, the cave was used as a storehouse and offered temporary quarters to the nomadic Indians who traveled Yampa Canyon. We recall a verse left behind in one of these caves in 1886 by another early settler, Pat Lynch. It was written by 5 scrap of paper. The message is probably more important today than it was then. If in those caverns you shelter take, please do them no harm. Love everything you find around, hanging up or on the ground. The Yampa Canyon is one of the most picturesque canyons of the West. A favorite spot is Tiger Rock. The smooth canyon wall of this Weber sandstone formation slants over the water, with its top some 2,000 feet overhead. The course of the Yampa River at this point abruptly twists and turns. In less than 10 miles as the crow flies, we meander 22 miles. Cliff jumping by our boatman and an occasional daredevil passenger provide additional thrills and opportunities for the camera bugs aboard. Nature's arrow on the sheer cliff above warns us of the biggest rapid on the Yampa River, Warm Spring. In the spring of the year, many boatmen contend it has a 9 to 10 rating. When 10 is as high as the count goes, it's a big one. rafts are tied upstream, and our crew studies the river. With the passengers' safety in mind, it must be decided, do they ride or walk around? On this particular day, we walk around. Some years ago, a tremendous flash flood from the side canyon put tons of boulders and rocks into the river and helped to form the spectacular stretch of white water. Cameras appear from waterproof plastic bags as river runners take advantageous positions along the shore to watch as the crew brings the big pontoon rafts through the boiling and heaving white water. With a man on each oar, this is where the experience and training of our crew really pays off. If starts down the rapids too far to the left, it's a sure flip in the 6-foot-high rooster tail. A big 12-foot oar snaps like a toothpick. Without a moment's hesitation, a spare oar is jerked free and put into place. Back, arm, and leg muscles strain to guide the big raft around the 8-foot hole at the bottom of the rapid. It's quiet water now, a time to relax after the thrills of Warm Springs Rapids. The rays of the late afternoon sun slant over the canyon rim as we head for shore at Echo Park. This delightful campground, also called Pat's Hole, is maintained by the National Park Service, and the ranger on duty bids us welcome to one of the places on the river that can be reached by vehicle. Night on the river, thoughts of the hustle and bustle of the city are rather distant. Some guys even comb their hair on this trip, while others just let it blow or lap an old golf hat on their head and let it go at that. We'll only be on the river a couple of hours today, so there's no great hurry to get started. Breakfast at Echo Park is enjoyed at a leisurely pace. Even if you are one of those who usually skips breakfast, it doesn't seem to happen that way on the river. For those so inclined, there's a hike scheduled for today. Along the spectacular view of Steamboat Rock, you have an opportunity to see ancient Indian drawings called petroglyphs and pictograms. The history of the Echo Park or Pat's Hole area goes back a lot of years. It was first named Echo Park by the early day explorer John Wesley Powell more than 100 years ago because of the tremendous echo that bounces off Steamboat Rock. It was later called Pat's Hole after Pat Lynch, a hermit who was the first white settler in the area in 1902. It is generally believed early American Indians inhabited the area from 400 to 800 A.D. These people were the forerunners of the present Ute Indian tribe. As nearly as can be determined, these sites, or caves, were not dwellings. They were storage bins for food. In fact, the information on the dwellings of the early Indians is quite vague, but it's assumed they lived in pole or skin shelters on the benches of the canyon and in the river bottom. The temperature in this particular cave remains constant the year around at 58 degrees. Cliff murals and other prehistoric Indian drawings are common along the canyon walls, but are particularly abundant in this general area referred to as Castle Park. Probably the most spectacular Weber sandstone formation on the entire trip, Steam Rock. Stands watch over the confluence of the Yampa and Green Rivers. This region of Colorado and Utah is an unspoiled wilderness of wild rivers, rich in the history of exploration, reclusiveness, and outlawry that marks it as one of America's last inaccessible areas. It's big and deep, and under the watchful eye of the National Park Service, it will remain so. When our rafts have traversed its length, there will remain behind only the quiet solitude of this majestic country. Same solitude left behind more than 100 years ago by the explorer John Wesley Powell. Another adventure-bound trip begins 18 miles up the Green River from this point at the gates of the Ladore in Browns Park. This leg of the trip is also within Dinosaur National Monument. It is the deepest and most rugged of the four main canyons in the monument, with a maximum depth of more than 3,350 feet. Disaster Falls is the first rough water on this Green River trip, so named by Powell's expedition in 1869. No doubt due to the fact they lost one of their big bull boats in this stretch of water. The bull boat was constructed by stretching 4 to 6 buffalo hides over a simple willow frame. The beauty of the red rock cliffs in Ladore Canyon is breathtaking to behold. Powell named this one, too, Triplet Falls. Place our passengers are sure to get sprayed. Living at this point in time does have its advantages. And one of them is being in a big rubber pontoon raft instead of a bull boat. When you hit a rock, the raft just bends and hangs up temporarily before sliding down the other side. As rapids go, Hell's Half Mile is a favorite on this leg of the expedition. With our raft bobbing and bucking like a roller coaster, Robert Sutwollen, the cataract of the Ladore, best describes the action. Retreating and beating and meeting and sheeting, delaying and straying and playing and spraying, advancing and prancing and glancing and dancing, recoiling, turmoiling and toiling and boiling, and gleaming and streaming, beaming, and flapping and flapping and clapping and slapping, and curling and whirling, furling and twirling, and thumping and plumping and bumping and jumping, dashing and flashing and flashing and flashing, and so never ending, but always descending. Sounds and motion forever and ever are blended. All at once and all o'er, with a mighty uproar, this way the water comes down at Ladore. Another change of pace, and the water below the Minturn Fault is calm and cool, and so are the drinks. Swimming and floating alongside the raft is the order of the day for the young and the young at heart. The cares and worries of the workaday world are left far behind. The sun feels warm and good. Here we are again at the meeting place, the Green and Yampa Rivers. The warmer water of the Yampa River flows into the cool water of the Green beneath the shadows of Steamboat Rock. One of the real dangers of a river trip is an attack by another raft. Stand by to board. Avast, the scoundrels, they have us outnumbered. Over the side, lads. Another Park Service campground is located at Jones Hole. The only way to get there is to float down the river. While drakes are being donned and sleeping bags unrolled, the crew is preparing the evening meal. cathedral spire looking down on our campsite, this is one of the most scenic areas in the whole of Dinosaur National Monument. Jones Hole Creek is the only clear trout stream within the monument. And for adventure-bound anglers with a Utah fishing license, evening fishing for rainbow and brown trout is great sport. There's no pollution here. The water of Jones Hole Creek has its origin in many large springs which bubble out of limestone formations 4 miles upstream. Ribeye steaks, baked potatoes, and fresh salad, plus cherry tarts for dessert. A perfect ending for a perfect day. Bright and early the next morning, pork chops, potatoes, sausage, and eggs on the menu. While the coffee cooks, three-stripe camp. Personal gear is rolled up, packed, and stored aboard the racks. After breakfast, we shove off for our last day on the Green River. Canyon walls reach 3,300 feet up as we head for Island Park. At this point, our crew is hoping there is no wind coming up the canyon, because if there is, they will have to row through the broad valley area of Island Park. After a short bus ride from Craig, Colorado, our adventure begins on the Yampa River at Deer Lodge Park, where the calm water gives no hint of the canyons and white water ahead. Provisions for our journey are stored and secured in food lockers, bolted to the frames of the big rubber pontoon rafts that will carry us safely through the Yampa Canyon on down the Green River into Utah. From the original 80 acres set aside by President Wilson in 1915, Dinosaur National Monument was enlarged in 1938 to more than 200,000. After a short bus ride from Craig, Colorado, our adventure begins on the Yampa River at Deer Lodge Park, where the calm water gives no hint of the canyons and white water ahead. Provisions for our journey are stored and secured in food lockers, bolted to the frames of the big rubber pontoon rafts that will carry us safe.